Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is, wherever you are tuning in. Thank you so much for joining me today for yet another Facebook Live. Really delighted to be back here once again. Also able to broadcast live over Instagram today as well. Looks like the Wi-Fi is going good, so I'm happy to be able to offer this in a few different channels. I'm broadcasting through Such Sweet Thunder and Contemplative Light. I'm also broadcasting on my own home Facebook page and on my own Instagram page. How lovely. Love technology. And so, as some of you probably already know, I tend to put myself out there live on Facebook and Instagram, usually for about 3 weeks or a month or so, as a way of building up momentum into an online meditation, really an immersive retreat experience that I'm offering. So I want to speak a little bit about that, and then I'll get into the topic of the day. So I'm offering two 12-week online meditation programs, but I'll just speak about the topic today, which is loving kindness. And so this runs from October 1st to December 17th. This year, 2023, and we're meeting on Sunday evenings from 7 to 9:30 p.m. That's East Coast Standard Time. So please adjust your calendars and clocks accordingly. Also, on that note, there will be a time change in the middle of this program. So if you're living in an area where the clocks don't change or change at a later date, just be aware that will be happening at some point in the program in November, I believe. So over the 12 weeks, we meet again every Sunday from 7 to 9:30 p.m. I know that's 2.5 hours. It's kind of a long stretch. We do take a nice 10 or 15-minute break in the middle there. And over those 2.5 hours, those are live. It's not pre-recorded. I show up there with you all to help facilitate the journey through loving kindness. So that I feel anyway is a distinguishing characteristic of the online courses that I offer is I don't pre-record any of the sessions, that I'm actually there with the participants. Now, those sessions are recorded and made available to anyone who's registered for the program. So you don't have to make the sessions live if that's not comfortable for you or if you have things you have to do. It's challenging to be in the same place every day at the same time for 12 weeks in a row. I don't expect that. So the programs are offered over Zoom. They are recorded. So if you need to miss one or several or even all of the sessions and do the whole thing in your own time, you're welcome to do that. So I try to make it as flexible and as easy for everyone. Now, that being said, as some of you already know, I think my training comes from the Buddhist traditions, both the earlier schools and the later schools of Buddhism. But I teach from a secular, non-sectarian voice. I really am passionate about bringing these teachings to as many people as possible, regardless of the belief system that they might adhere to, or maybe they have no belief system, and that's also fine. Everyone's welcome. And kind of on a similar note then, I want to mention that I've spent the last several years really taking a deep dive into trauma and trauma healing and trauma-informed practices. And so this course and really everything that I offered is offered within that framework, trauma-sensitive framework. So again, really, the reason for that is that, again, I want to bring these teachings to people, to as many people as possible, regardless of what their nervous system might be holding or not holding. And that brings me to the topic at hand, which is loving kindness, or metta, as it's known in Sanskrit or Pali, the language of the Buddha, metta. Now, metta, as it's been translated to loving kindness, that's the traditional translation. And that's fine. I do find that uh, loving kindness, because it has the word love in there, it's kind of gets this kind of exalted, almost a loaded quality to it, particularly here in the West. So I honestly prefer kindness, kindness. And so we're really training to cultivate this intention of being in the world in a kinder way. And then engaging in a set of practices that allow us to manifest that intention. And when I was putting today's offering together, I quoted a quote from Peter Levine, Dr. Peter Levine, and he's quoted as saying, you know, I don't know if there are other modalities that can bring about this type of healing, but the practices of kindness have been empirically shown to alleviate and really, in some cases, reverse the negative effects of adverse childhood experiences, of childhood trauma. That's a powerful, powerful statement. And of course, you know, coming from Peter Levine, I think that makes it even more powerful. By the way, if you're not familiar with Peter Levine's work, I do strongly recommend checking him out. He's the codifier and founder of somatic experiencing, a really, really wonderful trauma healer and therapist, Peter Levine. So I could sit here and talk for the next 25 or 30 minutes about loving kindness and all the benefits that I've gotten from these practices of kindness, and I may do some of that. But I really would like to offer a guided meditation here today. And this will be one of the meditations that I will be offering in the 12-week course. And so, yeah, if you're hemming and hawing about signing up, this might be a good taster for you. And so this is really a practice of offering kindness to ourself. And traditionally, well, many traditions anyway start there, where we're you know, spend some time building this type of kindness towards ourselves. Some traditions like to start by offering kindness to a good friend, a family member, a loved one, and then swapping them out and putting ourselves in the mix there. And we may do some of that in the course. We probably will, actually. But I really wanted to offer a practice here today that really can allow us to feel quite immediately the healing powers of kindness. So in the meditation, I'll ring the bell and I'll invite us to connect to the present moment. And, you know, this will be roughly 15-minute practice or so. So we'll spend a little bit of time connecting to the present moment through our experience of sounds, the sensations of the body and the breath. Remember sounds, sensations of body and breath, these are always present moment experiences. And so if we get distracted, either when we're practicing meditation or at the grocery store or waiting for the elevator, it's stuck in traffic, we can always return back to the present moment through the experience of sound and the sensations of the body and breath. And I always like to you know, bring that up when I'm offering mindfulness and meditation techniques or teachings, because, you know, it's great to become good at being in the present moment while we're practicing meditation, but it's perhaps even better to become good at staying in the present moment in our day-to-day experience. And so, you know, just to acknowledge that the tools that we use in mindfulness are tools that we use in our day-to-day experience. So we'll connect to the present moment through body, breath, sound. And then we're invited to bring into awareness some challenge that we might be dealing with. And for the sake of the practice, really using something pretty mild. This might be an argument you had with a coworker, maybe your cat or dog left a mess on the floor, some sort of irritation that you might be chewing on. And we'll bring that into awareness, and then we'll notice, what does it feel like in the body when we're standing near or holding near an adverse situation? And then we offer those physical sensations kindness. And we do the same thing with our mind and with our heart, with our thoughts, with our feelings and emotions, like that. So again, I don't want to say too much because I really just want to move into the meditation practice today. And maybe I'll talk a little bit after the practice. We'll see. So enjoy this guided meditation. Again, we'll do this for about 15, maybe 15 to 20 minutes or so. I tend to get carried away, but I'll try to keep it to 20 minutes. And so the invitation here then is just to arrive into this present moment. And you could arrive here into this present moment with your eyes open or closed, however you're comfortable. If you do decide to have your eyes open, just allow the gaze to rest softly in front of you, not focusing on any particular object or shape or color. Also, this could be done really in any posture. You could do this seated in a chair or in a traditional posture on the floor, cross-legged. Or you could do this lying down or standing up. And feel free to change postures mid-practice if you find that's helpful and supportive. And so while we're here resting, the invitation here then is to notice any sounds that might be available. You might notice quiet, subtle sounds, the gentle sound of a bird song, or the hum of a fan or an air conditioner or a heater, the sound of my voice. There may be loud, obvious sounds like a car or a truck passing by. Maybe there's a conversation unfolding or a neighbor's television or music coming in. These sounds could be pleasant or unpleasant or neutral. But regardless of the quality of the sound, acknowledging how sounds are always present moment. And as such, sounds can make a great guide back to the experience of the here and now. So resting and listening, just listening. And so while we're here resting and listening to the present moment, the invitation then, if it feels good to do so, is to bring awareness to the feet and perhaps noticing the contact of the feet against the floor or the ground, inviting the muscles in the feet to relax, grow soft, rest. We might notice sensations of clothing against the legs, inviting the muscles in the legs to relax, grow soft, unwind. Perhaps noticing too the weight of the body against the cushion or chair, mat or floor. And really noticing the sense of being held and supported by the chair or the cushion, which is really a substitute for planet Earth. So taking a moment just to notice this sense of being held and supported by this beautiful life support giving planet. And then in the next breath or two, if it feels good to do so, we could bring awareness to the hands and the arms, and perhaps noticing the hands resting against the body or touching each other, the arms resting against the body, inviting the hands and arms to grow soft, relax, rest. We might also notice sensations of clothing against the back, the lower back, the middle of the back, the upper back. Inviting the muscles in the back to relax, rest. Perhaps noticing too the rising and falling of the abdomen with each breath. Noticing if there's any tension or stress being held in the abdomen, which is really very common. If you notice any stress or tension there, just inviting that to relax and soften. And we might also notice the rib cage expanding and contracting with each breath. The shoulders rising on the in-breath and falling on the out-breath. Inviting the muscles in the shoulders to relax, rest, unwind. There might be sensations arising throughout the back of the neck and the sides of the neck. Inviting the muscles in the neck to relax, rest. Perhaps noticing sensations arising throughout the cheeks of the face. Letting any tension or stress that's held in the face go. And noticing sensations arising at the top of the head, the very crown of the head. Resting, resting. And so while we're here resting with this present moment experience, the invitation here is to bring into awareness some experience that we're struggling with. And ideally, not using some experience that's overly wrought with pain or struggle. On the scale of 1 to 10, this might be around a 3, or perhaps a 4, if 10 was the most amount of struggle. So something a little bit mild, but strong enough to feel the tension. This might be an argument you had with a friend or a coworker. or maybe something in the political sphere that's gotten under your skin. Maybe there was some experience recently that you just wish had gone a different way somehow. And you may have several experiences coming to mind, and that's fine. But for this practice, just selecting one experience to work with here. And if this memory or recollection is playing out like a video in the mind's eye, which is quite common, the invitation then would be to freeze frame that video to the most activating point. Where was the most frustration in that experience? And while holding this experience lightly in awareness, holding that activating point of impact, we can begin to explore what's the corresponding experience in the body. What happens in the body when we are invited to stand near a difficult memory or situation? You might notice some tension around the heart or in the abdomen, some tightness happening in the shoulders, or maybe a clenching of the jaw. Maybe it's just a feeling of wanting to get away, a full body experience. There's no wrong or right physical experience of aversion. We're simply noting whatever arises for us. And while holding this aversion, the felt experience, we can offer ourselves kindness. We can do this in the form of phrases, perhaps putting a hand over the heart. May I feel safe in the midst of this. May I feel safe in the midst of this struggle. May I be well in the midst of this storm. May I know kindness in the midst of this. May I feel safe in the midst of this. May I be well in the midst of this struggle. May I find kindness in the midst of this. May I find ease in the midst of this. So just silently moving through those phrases to yourself and noticing Is there a somatic response to the kindness? Is there perhaps a softening, or maybe you notice a bit of space around the tension in the body? And while holding this challenging experience lightly in awareness, we can begin to explore what are the thoughts that accompany this challenge. In a sense, we could look at the thoughts the way we might look at fish swimming in an aquarium. There's some interesting thoughts, some colorful thoughts, some small thoughts or some large thoughts. Can we offer any thought in the aquarium kindness? May I feel safe in the midst of this. May I be well in the midst of this. May I know kindness in the midst of this situation. May I find ease in the midst of this struggle. And noticing, what's it like to offer our thoughts kindness? May I be safe in the midst of this struggle, this heartache, this tension. May I be well in the midst of this. May I know kindness in the midst of this confusion. May I find ease in the midst of this heartache. Resting, resting. And while holding lightly in awareness this challenging experience, noticing what happens in the heart when we're invited to stand near something painful, something challenging. Very often, at least for me, I notice a tightening or a clenching around the heart, or a wanting to shield. And we offer our heart kindness in the midst of difficulty. May my heart feel safe in the midst of this. May I know kindness in the midst of this. May I be well in the midst of this. May I find ease in the midst of this struggle. And sometimes it's helpful just to take the key word of each phrase. Safe, well, kindness, at ease. Resting, resting. And if you are using the move of compassionate support with a hand on the heart, I would invite you to allow the hands to rest back where they're comfortable. Noticing the original situation that we selected to work with. And noticing if there's any change in how you hold that experience. There may be or there may not be, and there's no wrong or right about that. We're simply surveying the effects of kindness as we offer kindness to the body, to the mind, and to the heart. If you didn't feel much or anything at all, just know the seeds are being planted for future experiences of kindness. And so in a few moments' time, I will ring the bell and bring us out of the guided meditation and back into a conversational space. Yeah. So if your eyes are closed and you wish to open them, perhaps looking around the room, kind of scanning the surroundings as a way of reorienting. That also comes from Dr. Peter Levine. This is maybe a tribute to Dr. Peter Levine Facebook hour. A couple of his books, by the way, since I'm on that topic, In an Unspoken Voice and Waking the Tiger, both really two wonderful, wonderful books. I highly recommend them. Also, Trauma and Memory, excellent, excellent book. So here we took some time and really explored offering the spirit of kindness to our own body, our thinking, and our heart, our emotions. And, you know, some people get kind of hung up on the phrases. And, for this practice, you're welcome to create your own phrases. I may have even shuffled through a couple of different ones there. I don't remember. Um, and it's the intention that's really the driving force of the practice. It's really the intention to meet my own body with kindness. When and if I'm carrying tension or resentment or frustration in the body, anger, we put the fire of anger out with that quenching salve of kindness. So meeting what's there with this open heart, with this warmth, this wish, this well-wishing, right? So again, the phrases, you can use phrases. I like to use phrases. That's a tried and true method. It's been happening since the 5th century at least, where practitioners will offer phrases to their own heart and body and mind as a way of installing these qualities of kindness and compassion into the heart. So this is a tried and true method, and at the same time, I think some people can get stuck on the phrases. So it's really simply about meeting ourselves where we're at with kindness. Right? Now, as I went into the body, maybe, I was holding on to a particular situation and there was this tightness, clenching in the abdomen, a clenching in the jaw. I'm not offering myself kindness to get rid of the physical discomfort. This, we can get into that sometimes. Oh, this is painful or this is uncomfortable. I wish that would go away. Maybe if I offer myself kindness, that will eradicate this physical discomfort from my experience. And sometimes that does happen. But that's not the goal of the practice. The goal of the practice is to really come into a type of acceptance around where we are with the situation that we're working with. And in that type of acceptance, there can be, and very often is, a sort of softening around the heart, or the tension in the body tends to release in that way. Right? But we're not entering into a transactional relationship with the body. If I give you kindness, will you give me relaxation? We don't want to engage in that kind of practice, because then we're kind of really just moving our typical habit of pushing against discomfort and grasping at comfort. We're moving that from our everyday experience into the meditation practice. That's not really helpful, right? So here we're really simply exploring the possibility of meeting ourselves wherever we're at in that moment with kindness. And the benefits of that will come on their own accord. Right? So we don't have to, try to force relaxation or force the body to soften into kindness. You can't force the body into kindness anyway, because forcing is unkind. Right? So the idea is to meet the body where it's at. There you are, my old friend. How I wish you were safe. How I wish you felt safe. How I wish you were happy and well. Right? And then we do the same thing with our thoughts. Right? I don't know about you all, but I know for me, when I'm struggling with a situation, I can have these thoughts that I really wish weren't there. Right? And again, we're not trying to get rid of any particular type of thoughts, but simply to meet the activity, the cognitive activity of the mind with kindness. Because if I'm having angry thoughts and I try to push them away and get rid of them and ignore them, guess what? They usually get more angry. And you can try this on your own, in your own experience. If you bring up a situation into your awareness where there's anger, and then say to yourself, no, I don't want to be angry. I won't feel angry. Can't get angry. It's not right. Right? And so when we start to push against angry thoughts, at least it's been my experience, and many, many people that I've worked with as well, they tend to report that the anger gets fueled. We get more frustrated, more angry. But when we can turn and oh, yeah, you are angry. Oh, I hope you can find peace. Or, ooh, yeah, that's an angry thought. May you find ease. May you be well. May you be well. And so when we're able to meet the material, the cognitive material, with this kindness, the anger can still be there, right? We're not trying to eradicate anger from our experience, but we're a lot less likely, to yell or kick or punch or scream or shout when we're meeting the anger internally with this welcome. there's all a whole lot of unfortunate um, misinterpretations or views around anger, which I can do a whole class on. But just to mention that anger is actually normal, natural, it's healthy. All human beings get angry. In fact, we're wired to get angry anytime we feel threatened. We either move into fight, which is anger, or fear, fight or flight, which is fear, right? So anytime the human nervous system feels any kind of threat, whether it's imagined, perceived, or very tangible and real, we'll either move into fight or flight or freeze or some mix of that. So anger is normal. We're not trying to get rid of anger. But what we are exploring is that if anger is there, whatever our internal experience is there, can we meet that with kindness? Why? Simply because that's the experience we're having. And again, it's a lot less likely we're going to cause suffering for ourselves and for others when we can meet ourselves internally and externally with this kind heart. And then, speaking of the heart, we explored meeting what's arising emotionally with friendliness, with warmth, with kindness. Right? And, it's challenging to parse these apart. You know, the body, the mind, the heart, it's all our present moment experience. They're all happening in tandem with each other, intertwined, blended, mixed. But for pedagogical purposes, I just went through the body, mind, and the heart in this way. But we're really training to meet our experience with kindness. And I say the word training because it is a training, and the idea that any one person can come to just one meditation practice like this, and I hope we all feel inspired enough to say, well, I'm just going to meet everything I experience kindly. I hope we can. But usually it does take some practice. It's like learning an instrument or learning a language. We really have to get in there and go through the technique, doing it for myself many, many, many times. I've spent quite a bit of time training in these types of practices. So I just want to manage expectations, that it's great to come to a session like this, and I hope you're getting some benefit from that. But you'll get a lot more benefit if you do set aside just some time, maybe a few times a week, or ideally really every day, to just do a little bit of practice. Could be 3 minutes, could be 5 minutes. Or if you want to do a longer practice, maybe using the recording. I have many, literally hundreds of recordings on podcasts of guided meditations. If you want to do a longer practice, maybe using a recording can be helpful. But trying to do a little bit every day. And, the quote from Bruce Lee comes to mind. Under duress, we don't fall to the level of our expectations, but we fall to the level of our training. Rather, he said, we don't rise to the level of our expectations, but we fall to the level of our training. And, we've all been training how to meet challenges and discomfort all of our life. But maybe our training didn't come from skilled trainers or teachers, although our teachers and trainers may have been, well-meaning. But if we're really simply going to leave it to the center of gravity of the culture that we're born into, well, we can just turn on the news and see what's happening there. When we turn on the news and we see what's happening in the world, that's people falling to the level of their training. Right? So taking up practices that really stretch our heart, and stretch our awareness, so that we can rise above the level of our training. Right? So we can rather rise above the level of our expectations, and heighten our level of training so that we meet the moment of kindness. We're creating a better environment, a better society, a better family system, and essentially a better world. What better pursuit is there? Okay, well, I hope you've enjoyed this time together. I have. Once again, I'll be back here probably in a week or so, doing month-long series on loving kindness, building up to an online meditation program, which runs from October 1st to December 17th. We meet once a week on Sundays. For more information about the program, do go visit my website, suchsweetthunder.org. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll ring the bell to close us out. Thank you.